which enclose your brain. So all of this is my cranium, and we also have the bones of the facial skeleton. So we have the cranium and the facial skeleton. So the skull is divided into the cranium and the facial skeleton. Now the cranium is also divided into this covering, which is called the cranial vault or the calvaria, and the cranial base. So when you are looking at this, you are looking at the base of the skull. So this is the covering of the brain. This is where your brain rests, here. So now the cranial base is divided into three fossa, which are demarcated by bone. Anteriorly, we have this fossa here, it's called the anterior cranial fossa. All of this part is the anterior cranial fossa. We have the middle cranial fossa, which accommodates the temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex. And we have the posterior cranial fossa. So the basic thing to know is what are the bones which form the floor of the middle of the cranial fossa. What are the bones which form the anterior cranial fossa? Frontal bone. So actually, you can say, of course, the squamous part of the frontal bone and the orbital plate of the frontal bone, because you can see them from here. Are we together? On the midline, we have this bone here, the ethmoid, right? Yes. The ethmoid bone with its crista galli and the cribriform plate on both sides. And part of the sphenoid. Are we together? So you just know what are the bone marking of the cranial fossa specifically, which you will be talking about. So the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, and of course the part of the sphenoid bone, the anterior sloping, this is called the jugum. So the jugum, the lesser wings, and of course the ethmoid bone with its crista galli and the orbital plate of the ethmoid bone, they form the floor of the anterior cranial fossa. Otherwise, we have this middle cranial fossa, which is formed by, mainly, we have the greater wing of the sphenoid with the body of the sphenoid, but of course we have the temporal bone, and of course the anterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone. So the sphenoid, the squamous part of the temporal bone and the petrous part of the temporal bone. Basically, the anterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Otherwise, we know the parts of the sphenoid, right? We have those greater wings, and we have, this is the sella turcica with the parts, you know, the dorsum sella, the tubercular sella, the hypophyseal fossa, anterior, posterior crinoid processes. We can remember that, right? So the middle cranial fossa is formed basically of the temporal bones, the squamous and the petrous part, the sphenoid bone, the greater wing, and the body. Are we together? Then we have the posterior cranial fossa, which is made of the squamous part of the occipital bone, and of course the basilar part. Are we together?
Yes.
Now, these are the two main parts of the base of the skull. So the foramens of the skull, you can mention them from anterior to posterior in the manner that it's easily understandable. Now, we have what it is. This is the frontal crest, right? The inner projection of the frontal lobe is called the frontal crest, and this is the crista galli. Now, between the frontal crest and the crista galli, we have this foramen. This is called the foramen cecum, which you already know.